Okay guys, this week I'm testing the new 2019 Jeep Wrangler. This is the Sahara. It's a 4x4 unlimited. Pretty loaded up Jeep, pretty loaded up press car here. It's about $51,000 as spec'd. MSRP on this is around $38,000. We have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 4High Auto, which we'll probably leave it in for this review. Lots of information here. The gauge cluster, a nice, responsive, quick entertainment system. We have Google Maps, all the goodies. We're going to do a little bit of an audio test later on. Ragtop, a little bit noisy, a little bit of wind noise on the highway, but that's the price you pay for top-down fun in the summer. We're not going to be doing that today, unfortunately, though. It's a little bit cold in Michigan. It's 25 degrees outside. I wanted to take you around this Wrangler, show you around. It's a pretty nice overall package. There are definitely some complaints that I have, but the more I drive this thing, the more I like it, and the more I see why people really dig these Jeeps. They're selling like crazy these days, incredibly popular. Jeep can't seem to sell enough of them. And they do get under your skin. You've got some modern LED lighting on the front end now. No more of that old school lights that if you bashed on the trail, they'd just be a few bucks to replace. I do like this color. Looking in the back here, pretty limited trunk opening space because of the ragtop. This comes off, but it's a little bit of work to get off. Alpine sound system is really a powerful unit, and you can hear it because of that sub in the back. I love all the little Easter eggs that Jeep includes in their vehicles. Here we have basically just dimensions, water fording height, 30 inches at 5 miles an hour, developed in Auburn Hills, built in Toledo. I do like the looks of this new JL. True to the classic Jeep proportions, true to the classic Jeep looks, but just modernized, updated a little bit. Plenty of room in the back seat. Got your window controls centrally located here, as well as a couple USB-C ports and USB 2.0s. And 115 volt, 150 watt AC outlet there. That's pretty nice. Plug in your laptop. This thing is ready to hit the road trips and the trails. This whole center seat area folds down into kind of an innovative cup holder solution, which is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that when I first got in this car. You do have a pretty decent amount of space back here to store things. Just that opening is pretty limited. Speakers up here. Alright, let's hop inside and let's take this for a drive. Like I said earlier, 4-cylinder turbo. This is a fast Jeep. This engine has quite a lot of grunt to it. It really pulls. Really nice. Works well with the transmission. We're going to leave it in 4High Auto today. This is kind of a new system for the Jeep that allows them to engage the front axle when it detects slip, which is pretty nice. We have a great, nice, high-res reverse camera. I was just testing the Mazda CX-5, and the reverse camera on that is miserable. Other manufacturers, take note, this is how you do it. Full screen, 170-degree view or so. Really nice and sharp. I love it. Fantastic turning radius in this Wrangler too. Get you around the trails nice and easily. And a lot of really premium materials in here. The leather on the steering wheel is super soft. Really nice shift lever leathers and just cool aluminum accents all throughout the cabin. shifts are really nice and smooth. And then once you hit about 55 miles an hour, you're starting to get some wind noise. Definitely get a good shove of torque from this 2-liter. All you hear is just a bunch of boost. It has really good manners though. Coupled with the transmission, it does a great job. Switch over into manual mode here. It's pretty responsive. Really no complaints about the drivetrain in this Jeep. I do really love the power level. And like all Jeeps of the past, there's a little bit of a vagueness and a delay to the steering, a wallowiness on the road that has definitely gotten more refined with this latest generation, but it's just part of the character. I think, the best analogy I can give it is that it feels like you're in a video game and there's just a little bit of lag between your inputs and the screen, and that's kind of how this feels. You could do the vehicle versions handling test, and not a whole lot happens, to be honest. That said, though, overall this Jeep has really good road manners. The ride quality is awesome. It handles decently well, and it's just fun to drive. I said that about the last Wrangler Sport that I had. That was a 2-door manual with roll-up windows. There's a solidity here that's just... it's a lot of fun. You can kind of chuck this into corners. The turn signal has a really nice, chunky feel to it. And that kind of carries over in the rest of this. The only thing that doesn't quite follow in that pattern is the gear selector. It's really light. Sometimes it's easier to, you get used to kind of manhandling all these other things throughout the cabin, and you go for the gear selector and it feels really, really lightweight. The brakes are awesome. Really, really impressive braking power from these. Tons of good pedal feel. Let's do a little U-turn here on some snow. Great turning radius, and once it detects slip, it'll give you some traction from the front axle there. Really pull out of this snowy area with ease. That 4-high auto system really does give you a lot of confidence. You'll probably take a little bit of a hit in fuel economy if you leave it engaged all the time. Let's do a little handling test here. It's still a Jeep. These things do really put a smile on your face, though. They are fun vehicles to drive. And besides the wind noise, I don't really have a lot of complaints about this. I do like this 4-cylinder a lot. First I was like, is this a little bit of blasphemy, putting a 4-cylinder turbo into a Jeep? But it's a really good unit. There's a ton of torque. It has great road manners. Let's get onto the highway here. We'll do an audio test, listen to that sound system, and I'll show you a little bit about the cruise control here. God, brake pedal feel. It's better than some sports cars. These seats are nice and firm. They're pretty comfortable. They're not very well bolstered, so they don't keep you in as well around the corners as you would like, but this doesn't have a high level of handling to speak of, so that's probably just as well. So let's get into the cruise control. This took me a minute to figure out when I first got into this. There's basically two cruise control systems. There's traditional, good old-fashioned cruise control that you just set it, and if you come up on a car, you're going to have to disable it or cancel it or hit the brake pedal. And that's in these buttons right here on this far right side of the steering wheel. Now the second cruise control system is operated, we'll cancel that, well, it's operated over here. So let's say you want to engage the automatic cruise control. Well, you start off here, and then you can control your following distance here, and then you use these buttons to set it and increase or decrease your speed. And I love how they have an old school original Jeep as your following car. That's pretty funny. Once you get up to 75 miles an hour, it's quite a bit of wind noise, quite a bit of buffeting, and you can kind of feel that there's this aerodynamic wall that you just hit. Pretty nice radar guided cruise control system though. It does work quite well. It just takes a minute to get used to, and you want to be sure that you know what mode you're in, because if you're coming up on a car and you're in your traditional cruise control mode, it's not going to stop you. Alright, let's go into Apple CarPlay here. Love this touchscreen. It's really responsive. It does a good job, more so than some other units that I've tried. Everything looks good. It's full screen. You can seamlessly change between Apple CarPlay and your climate controls and everything else. The sound system rocks too. It's a pretty good unit. Aside from the road and wind noise, it does a really nice job. Blind spot monitoring system works well. This Alpine system really rocks though. Very easy to drown out all the wind and road noise. Let's listen to something classical here. A little bit more refined. Definitely doesn't suit this truck. Handling's a little bit wallowy. You're always kind of fighting with tire rollover from the sidewalls and suspension slop, but it gets the job done. It's definitely interesting, and I would say it's even engaging. There's not a lot of steering feel, but it is kind of fun to hustle this thing around the corners just because the limits are so low. So I've kind of been asking myself this question all week, is you can put so many accessories, so many options on these Jeeps. Is it really worth it to buy one of these in this luxury spec? Is it that much more luxurious? Well, the biggest thing I'm missing in this Jeep, honestly, are heated seats and heated steering wheel, especially in the winter. I'm not really sure how I would spec a Jeep in this climate. Especially with the rag top, I want that just little added layer of warmth, and just I want some metal up there to take care of that wind buffeting. But in the summer, if you live in an area that you have a nice long warm season, and you're going to take the doors off, you're going to roll the soft top back and get some open air driving in, it's definitely worth it. What other SUV do you get where you can take the top off and enjoy it as a convertible? Otherwise, though, the way this Jeep is spec'd aside, this is a really nice driving experience. It's super refined, and ride quality is great. I'm sure this has tons of really nice off-road capability. You know, it's a good package. I can see why people really, really do enjoy these things. Now, is this something that I'm going to want to pit up against luxury vehicles? No, not really. It just doesn't have the refinement. It doesn't have the manners of, like, for example, a Lexus GX 460, which has a great amount of off-road capability, but it's quiet inside. It's luxurious. You have heated and cooled seats. You have really, really nice materials and reliability and just build quality. This is a little bit of a different, it's a completely different vehicle, but it's around the same price point, and it's kind of an interesting comparison between this and my GX. But the GX, let's be honest, it's a little bit of a mall crawler. It's not as cool as the Jeep, and this is honestly a little bit more fun to drive. This kind of reminds me of utilitarianism of the FJ Cruiser, but with a lot of modern tech and modern amenities. But it still has that old school feel that I think adds a lot of character to this, and that's why these things get under so many people's skin. I think it's definitely an interesting vehicle to own, and it opens up the opportunity for a lot of adventures with just its range of capabilities and the stigma associated with Jeeps. Chances are, if you're buying one of these things, you're going to be using it, you're going to be off-roading it, and that makes it just a little bit more fun as an ownership experience. I remember the last Wrangler that I drove, it was a JK. There was so much scuttle shake, really rough over pavement. I mean, it definitely felt like an old school Jeep. And there's just a lot more refinement here. So that's pretty much how I would sum up this new JL. You're probably going to be getting more miles to the gallon too with this 4-cylinder. The adaptive cruise control is nice when you press the right buttons. Yeah. Alright, well, these are just kind of my first thoughts on this Jeep this week. Put a few miles on this thing, and it's put a smile on my face more than once. I'm kind of surprised at how good it is to drive. Though I will say, personally, I wouldn't get the rag top with this. There's just too much wind noise. And if you're going to be road tripping this or taking it on the highway a lot, it's just not worth it. So you really have to kind of do some soul searching and figure out what your needs are going to be and what your usage is going to be with your Jeep, because it may be worth getting the hard top depending on how you're going to be driving this thing. Alright guys, we'll park, wrap up this review. Thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching. Appreciate all the comments and engagement and support recently. If you guys get a chance, head on over to the Windy Road channel for our POV test drive and night drive on this, where I just shut up and drive. Alright, there you go guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. We will see you in the next video. Take care. Oh yeah, and this thing is a massive key. Look at that.